To everyone in our great outdoor family, you may be feeling a little cooped up, but don't forget, there are still rocks to be skipped, trails to be trampled, bass to be caught. The great outdoors are wide open, and they're calling us like never before. In these trying times, we need nature more than ever. We need nature to remind us that like a sunrise or the turning of the tides, these challenges will pass. We need nature to help us heal and reconnect with the ones we love the most. So when you can, get back to nature. Get back to each other. We're here for you.
Welcome to the 2020 Sport Fishing Summit, ASA's premier business and networking event. This year's summit is brought to you by these generous sponsors. To kick off Summit Week, please welcome ASA's Board of Directors Chairman and Director of Marketing for St. Croix Rod, Jesse Simpkins.
Hello, I'm Jesse Simpkins, Director of Marketing for St. Croix Rod and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the American Sport Fishing Association. Welcome, and thank you for joining the 2020 ASA Sport Fishing Summit. And thanks to our sponsors. I also want to thank Chris Megan, our immediate past chair, for his tireless efforts over the past 2 years. I look forward to working with you and the board in the coming years. To all of our board and committee members, old and new, I want to thank you for your service as well. We have great opportunities ahead. Now, it's a shame we're not in Naples this year. However, this gives more folks from across the country ample opportunity to engage and participate. Digital has become the new normal. We know that. We look forward to your engagement this week and throughout all of the committee meetings that we have. Now, what an interesting year it's been. While many in the world and some of us personally have been suffering through the pandemic, the outdoor industry has been given a gift. The desire to get outdoors while remaining socially distant has opened up shores, docks, piers, and decks to millions of new anglers. What was originally thought to be a disaster has turned out to be a period of unprecedented growth. We must capitalize on this gift. Individually and collectively, we must do everything we can to welcome and keep these new anglers, and I know that we're up to that challenge. Now let's put 2020 in our hindsight and focus in on 2021. The ASA board is ready to take on these opportunities. Great business minds from around every segment of the industry will be working on the issues that most affect our collective future. From our vision, implemented through a strategic plan, to those issues being tackled by the government affairs team, we are prepared to act on those issues that have the greatest impact on our association and industry. Rest assured, the board and this team is looking out for your best interest. This week's summit is the best chance to be engaged in the process. The ASA team has put together a solid week of committee meetings addressing the needs of the association and the industry. Now, I personally urge each of you to find that committee that feeds your passion. Listen in, take notes, find a means to become engaged, even if you're not sitting on that committee. Now, make sure to request to attend each one of those meetings at asasportfishingsummit.org. I'd like to take this moment for a side note to talk about the ASA team and all they're doing to ensure you have a strong business going forward. Without them, we would not have the voice in Washington, D.C. or around the country that we currently enjoy, and quite possibly have less access, fewer fish, bans on lead and soft plastics, and more harmful regulations. This week's summit events are all about planning, moving forward, creating and capitalizing on opportunity. Today's focus is about learning what's happening around the country regarding fishing, government affairs, and the election. Glenn Hughes, president of the ASA, will speak after me and give you the state of the sport fishing industry. At 1 p.m., please tune in to hear VP of Government Affairs Mike Leonard share with you the current state of affairs regarding all the fishing policy and legislation that matters to all of us. At 2 p.m., you are in for a treat. Chris Steyerwalt, politics editor for Fox News Channel, gives his view on what he believes will happen in the upcoming elections. That, I am sure you want to stay tuned for. Well, the summit is a full week, and we have planned to gather ASA members in their respective committees and have those meetings all the way through our final business meeting on Friday afternoon. Now, if you're not on a committee, we still want your involvement. Be sure to check the schedule, request permission, and tune in to the meetings that you want to be part of. Each meeting you want to attend will require that request. Check the website for the latest schedule. Now, in addition to the association and industry business, the summit has always been an excellent place to network. Each evening during our industry happy hours, you will have the opportunity to join in and talk with peers from across the country. I personally invite you to attend. So with that, I hope you take advantage of this year's ASA Summit. We want you to engage with members, staff, and each other, and I look forward to being part of it with you. I'd like now to introduce to the screen your president of the American Sport Fishing Association, Glenn Hughes.
Thank you, Jesse, and congratulations on being the next Board of Directors Chairman. I know you'll do a fantastic job. And a big thank you goes out to Chris Megan of On the Water Media for being Chairman the past 2 years, and also to the entire Board of Directors. I truly appreciate their time, dedication, and direction. So just as a reminder, the Association's mission is to look out for the interests of the sport fishing industry and the entire recreational fishing community. Our focus is on 5 pillars: clean water, abundant fisheries, access to those fish, trade and commerce, and increasing participation in fishing. How do we accomplish that? With your support. I ask that you please pay your ASA membership dues, support our Keep America Fishing campaigns, and participate in our trade show ICAST. Of course, due to the COVID pandemic, the physical in-person ICAST show this past year, as well as every other trade show, was canceled, and we had to perform a serious reboot to pull off a virtual show, ICAST 2020 online. Thanks go out to the exhibitors that stuck with us and shared information with thousands of retailers and media and consumers throughout the week, and we were glad to bring the industry together, even if it was just for the internet. The best news this year is that fishing continues to be a favorite pastime for the American public. Everybody and their sister and their niece and their mother and their grandmother and their second cousin once removed went fishing. Since March, I've heard from hundreds of our industry colleagues, and just about everyone told me sales are off the charts. We are having our best year ever. We are blowing away last year's sales. I've also heard, in most of those conversations, we can't keep up with production. If we could only make more product or distribute more product, our sales would be that much higher. I'm confident the industry will catch up with sales by next spring. In the meantime, that means millions more Americans went fishing this year. And now we have some proof. The Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation has seen a huge wave of interest in fishing and boating in 2020, resulting in almost 3 times as many Take Me Fishing campaign impressions this year versus the same period last year. And the campaign started almost 2 months later. Last year, RBFF had 18 million visits to the Take Me Fishing digital properties. That's a lot. But they've reached 40 million visits in only 6 months this year, up more than 200% in half the time. And their YouTube videos didn't increase by 84%, they increased by 840%. Wait, what do you say? RBFF's YouTube videos increased by 840%, with more than 20 million views of the Get On Board campaign video. Think about last spring and how the fishing season started, where some states were actually closed to fishing altogether. Well, the RBFF has reached out to all 50 states and heard back from 45 of them, plus the District of Columbia, regarding our license sales and how they're doing from the time frame of January through August for 2020 versus 2019. Overall, there's a 14% increase in fishing license sales, and there's an 18% increase in the resident fishing license sales. Every single state has actually shown growth in 2020. And what's really exciting is that 20% of these fishing license sales were to first-time anglers, or those that haven't fished in the last 5 years. Another almost 20% bought a license who hadn't fished in the previous year. And there's a slight increase in the non-resident fishing license sales too, which is somewhat hard to believe based on what some states were doing to try to keep anglers out, as well as the lack of travel this year. Almost half of those license sales came from new anglers. And the net gain for this year, wait for it, over 3 million more fishing licenses were sold this year through August versus last year. And that's great news for our industry and for conservation, as their purchases not only help pay your bills, but also those of the state fish and wildlife agencies. And now we have proof there as well, because we can count the growth in federal excise tax revenue dollars. Based on the revenues received by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service through August, with 1 month to go in the fiscal year, fishing tackle, including rods and reels and lines and lures and tackle boxes and bait buckets and nets and trolling motors and more, are up 30% in 2020 over 2019. 30%, that's amazing growth. We've never seen a year-over-year numbers like this before. And I predict that sport fishing manufacturers are going to contribute $175 million this year to the Sportfish Restoration and Boating Trust Fund. We all owe a debt of gratitude to the manufacturers that contribute to the fund. For almost 70 years, you've contributed billions of dollars to conservation, and every citizen and every visitor to our great country should thank you. And also to those buying fishing tackle and fishing licenses, because we have great public lands and really good fishing. We will soon learn more about these new anglers and why they fish, as the RBFF has commissioned new research for this fall. In the meantime, a survey recently completed by Southwick and Associates tells us about the anglers from last year and their psychographics. It's interesting that almost 80% of last year's anglers consider themselves a beginner or intermediate. Therefore, let's make sure we speak with them and share information as beginners and intermediates, and not like they're the next Kevin Van Dam. It also tells us that 93% of them first went fishing with a family member or friend, and that the average age that they first went fishing was 10 years old. We need to be sure to share this information about fishing with the school-age kids. And we want to make sure that these new anglers have a good experience. But what does that mean? Is catching a big fish or lots of fish a good experience? Well, the research says, surprisingly, no. Spending time with family and friends and relaxing outdoors is what matters most to them. We need to reevaluate and revise our advertising and marketing and education programs to speak directly to their wants and needs. More to come on that throughout the year. Of course, there's a presidential election next month. Be sure to watch Chris Stirewalt's keynote address at 2 p.m. this afternoon when he shares his views on the elections and more. As we get closer to November 3rd, it's incredibly important for the sport fishing industry to understand that you're not just voting for the president, but all those that represent us in the House and Senate, as well as the governors and the state officials. Think about this. Those that control the House and Senate control the committees, and it's the committees that decide which bills and resolutions move forward in the House and Senate. These committee chairs have huge influence over the process. Having relationships with the chairs, the committee members, and very importantly, the staffs, have a big impact when it comes to fisheries policy for our industry and anglers. Key committees are Appropriations, Commerce, Science and Transportation, Energy and Natural Resources, as well as Finance. Mike Leonard and the Government Affairs team have been doing a fantastic job of working both sides of the aisle, influencing the bills, the language, and the key policy decisions that impact your business by opening doors, getting a seat at the table, and building relationships. Relationships with the cabinet members is also critical. We focus on Department of Interior, Commerce, Agriculture, and Treasury, because they manage the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Park Service, the Bureau of Land Management, the Forest Service, NOAA Fisheries, as well as federal taxes and tariffs. Again, it's your membership dues and trade show revenues that allow our team to interact with these departments and influence the way tax dollars are spent. Mike Leonard and his crew will share with you today what is happening on the specific fisheries issues. 2020 has probably been the most productive year in decades for the sport fishing industry, with respect to bills being passed that support our fishing initiatives, and those being thwarted so we can continue to have access. Yes, there is still work to be done on red snapper, as always, but the Great American Outdoors Act was signed into law. The ACE Act has been passed by both the House and the Senate, awaiting the President's signature. And the Descend Act has passed the House, while we've also delayed bills like AB 3030. These are testaments to how important the ASA is and how good your government affairs team is when dealing with politicians and the administration. My thanks go out to all you that support our efforts through the Sport Fishing PAC. More than 100 individuals have given more than $100,000 this past year. That goes towards campaigns to help ensure that we have the opportunity to share our position on the bills that matter most to us. When you combine all of the above and throw in our ever-important advocacy campaigns managed through Keep America Fishing and Keep Florida Fishing, you've got a well-oiled machine that is making a difference for conservation, the fish, anglers, and the industry. The ASA has you covered. Well, that's it. I hope you get engaged with the summit and take advantage of the information shared throughout the week and in the committee meetings. Please check back later today to see the government affairs team and then Chris Steyerwalt. I hope you have a great week and a fantastic 2021. Thank you.